Hi everyone, we're just going to be reacting to some true stories.
Yeah, we're going to be reacting to My Story Animated, and yes, let's get on with the video. And if you want to see us without reacting to it, just type in My Story Animated. So let's go on with the video.
So yeah.
I'm Sam, and I will share with you a creepy story that happened to me. So, I'm a 17 years old high school student. And
17.
I have a crush on a guy called Ben.
Okay.
He doesn't know it yet, but I'm planning on telling him soon.
Uh-huh.
Ben and I share most of our classes. Well, honestly, I joined the classes that he did just so that I get closer to him.
Oh,
I
that's
think
kind of
Ben
weird.
thought I'm weird because I ended up in all of his classes.
Yeah, that is
Today
weird.
at school,
Yeah.
I bumped into him, and he made a disgusted face and walked away. I knew it.
Look at their eyes.
That's straight
Yeah.
to his face. So I
Me and
had to
Josie
write him a
kind of
letter
had a
instead.
camp bed like where we're recording right now.
Yeah.
2 nights ago, wasn't
I
it?
expressed
Yeah.
all my feelings to him in it. Next morning, when I came to school, and I went to Ben's seat and left the letter in his backpack. As I walked out, the whole school was talking about how Ben and Stacy started dating. My heart was shattered.
Ben and Stacy. Maybe
So I ran to the
Stacy's her
bathroom and
friend.
just sat there
Yeah.
and cried my eyes out. Then I washed my face and dried it with toilet paper on my way out. I heard
My
Ben
toilet
and his
paper.
friends coming towards the
When are your
bathroom.
sleeves?
Then I heard someone saying, "Did you see Sam? She's totally into you." She burst into tears when she saw you with Stacy. What did I just hear?
That's
Are
her.
they laughing at me? I had to follow them, but they went into the shower room. I still had to hear everything they said about me. Curiosity kills me. I tried to listen through the door, but it wasn't clear enough, so I had to walk in. I snuck in quietly while the boys were showering. I approached
Wait,
Ben's locker
then they
just to
kids,
see
that's
what he
gross.
keeps there. I saw his name on the locker, so I
Because we're from England, we don't do that over here, do we?
No. And the boys were
Imagine
coming
if we
towards the
did, though.
lockers.
Ooh,
I freaked
I'd
out.
be
So I
uncomfortable.
hopped in the locker hoping that Ben won't open it. And there he was, standing like a model in a white towel, drying his hair with another towel. I melted. I have to admit, even though he laughed at me, my heart was racing, but I'm not sure if it was because I'm in his locker and about to get caught, or because he is so damn handsome. All the boys started opening their lockers, so I planned to act like I fainted in the locker. But my eyes couldn't let go of Ben as I saw him opening a locker in front of the one in which I was, which also said Ben. OMG. Am I that stupid to forget that my brother's name is also Ben? I was so blinded by Ben that I hopped into my own brother's locker. I hate myself. I even sniffed his underwear.
ooh, that is
Weirdo.
Ew! I got sick and wanted to throw up, but holding it in just made it all worse. The boys finished dressing up and left the shower room. I jumped out right away to breathe some fresh air and tried to walk out, but the shower room was locked. I decided to go through
Imagine
Ben's
if we
stuff
did that,
and
though.
wait for someone to come open the door. What excuse do I have for being
Imagine
in
if
the boys' shower room?
Like,
Sorry,
we
let me
shared
say
it with
I mean,
girls.
that had Ben's stuff there to
Imagine if we
explore.
shared.
The boys,
I
the girls would
opened
be
his
like,
locker, found his t-shirt, and felt so happy, indifferent to the fact that I was locked up in there. Anyway, I found a cute album, so I decided to open it.
This girl's weird.
Believe
Yeah.
what I saw.
Sam.
I dropped the album and just stood there shaking.
Look how long her red legs are.
To see if what I saw was correct. And there were my pictures. Pictures of me eating. Pictures of me going to bed.
Whoa, okay. I'm not calling her a weirdo anymore, are you?
Clothes. But Ben is a stalker? Is it really Ben? I can't believe this. I even couldn't feel love to him anymore. I felt creeped out.
Yeah, who would do that?
Started to get
A
cold.
weirdo?
I was all
Why would
alone
people
with no
even
backpack.
stalk
She's
other
so
people?
alone.
She's stuck in a.
Stuck
Oh
in
my
that
god.
cold
Oh,
place
look,
with
she's
that
stuck in there.
horrible fact. I just waited for my brother to notice that I'm not home and decided to take a nap on the floor just to kill time. Then I heard some noises outside. I waited for the sound to get louder so I can call for help, but maybe it was just the wind. someone getting closer to the door. So I started screaming for help.
Oh,
And
look how big your
suddenly,
mouth
in that
is.
silence, someone started breaking the door. I yelled,
Oh,
"Coach, is that you?"
is that
But
the
to no
coach?
avail. I started to feel a bit
It's
scared
just
as I
banging.
heard someone
Is this
breaking
guy
the
big
door.
or something? How big
Once
is
the
he?
door was open,
It's
I
a.
saw Ben standing
It's
there.
Ben.
He said, "Finally, you're all mine now."
What the hell?
In his face. He must have noticed that I'm not in my bedroom to stalk me, so he came searching for me. Or was he stalking me from the very beginning? I don't know
What?
anymore.
Twist.
What do I do now? I hit him with the album and ran down the hallway as he started chasing me. But all the school doors were locked. I started panicking. I couldn't breathe or focus properly. I just wanted to escape. I ran and ran, but he ended up catching me. I started begging him, "Please, let me go. I promise I won't tell anyone." I cried
Yeah,
and fought
like
for
you
my
do.
life.
Like.
Kicked him somehow and ran away. I kept running in circles.
Yeah, run.
Sooner or later, someone must appear. I started to feel tired and realized he'll get tired soon too, so I can't give up now. I tried to
Just
hide somewhere
run.
to get some energy. I was so tired and hungry, and suddenly I felt him pulling me by my hair from behind.
Oh.
It was getting darker,
Ow.
and I couldn't see much.
Like-
He dragged me into his
yeah,
car.
Ow!
In the front seat. He pointed a gun at me, threatening me that if I move, he'll shoot me. I was so scared.
Then there'll be blood all
I
over your
couldn't
car,
move
mate.
either way. He took me to some cabin in the woods and tied me to a chair. He said that he loved me and will always love, and that he will take care of me forever, and that all I had to do is stay in that cabin.
How?
He is sick. How didn't I notice earlier? How can it be that the sweet guy I had a crush on
mean
is an
boy.
obsessed psychopath? He gave me
Psychopath.
everything, clothes, food, and forced hugs. But it still didn't feel right. Day by day, he woke up, handcuffed me, and went to school. And when he came back, he unlocked me, fed me, and took good care of me.
Who would do
He brought his
that?
homework to me
Like at
and
least
taught
get
me
some.
everything they learned at school. He even tested me to keep my mind updated. He bought me lots of gifts, day by day. Roses, candies, makeup, nail polishes, etc. He let me use his iPad only when he's watching, and while I was scrolling down on Facebook, I saw a post with my picture that said, "Missing." He took the iPad and said, "That's enough for today." He gave me a kiss on my forehead, turned off the lights, and handcuffed me again, just like
Okay,
he
yeah.
had always done. I laid my
But
head
I
on the
can't
pillow
even
and
get to
started
sleep
crying.
without
He
having
lied next to me and
both
said,
my
"We'll
hands,
be
because
okay.
literally
I
I have to
promise."
put
At
one
night,
hand
I heard a car
underneath
driving,
the
but for
pillow
some
and then
reason,
the other
it didn't
like
even
hugging
alert me.
myself or Teddy that
When he
really
left in the
bothers,
morning,
like that.
Ben forgot to handcuff me, but I didn't want to run. I didn't want to go back home and school. I just wanted to stay with Ben. I felt warm with him.
Huh?
I cleaned up the cabin and prepared food and took a shower and waited for Ben to come. When he came back to a cooking smell, he looked shocked. I ran to him and gave him a hug and said, "You're finally home." He didn't say anything and just silently
He does not
started
look very
eating.
happy.
Why is
After
he happy
eating,
that he
I
didn't
gave
have
him
to?
some clean
But
clothes
he
and told
he
him to take
likes
a
doing
shower so I
everything.
can massage
Like
his back later. He did as I said
Oh.
without saying a word. I waited for him on the couch and thought about all the things I want to talk with him about. He came out from the bathroom in his clean pajamas that I gave him and sat next to me on the couch. I patted his head and asked him if he'd like to drink something sweet, and he shook his head no, and just stared at me the whole time. I asked him, "Aren't your parents angry that you didn't sleep at home for days?" He replied, "My parents are alcoholics." I started telling him what a great person he is, and how I had a crush on him, and probably still do. He said,
you're
"How? I
crazy.
kidnapped you." I know it is weird, but I
Yeah.
was happy he did.
What?
He left earlier, and at the
Who's
evening,
happy that?
he didn't come back home.
Like if
Got
it's your
worried.
crush, but
What if
still,
something happened to him on the way home?
why would you love?
I spent
He
the night
aimed a
all
gun
alone
at
in
your
the woods
head.
and waited for Ben to come back.
Like, if my mum did
He
that, I
didn't.
would not love her anymore. Seriously, like, if anyone did that,
She didn't.
I would probably would have
Haha,
kicked
she
her.
didn't. She didn't come home. Yeah.
Yeah, I would have just said, like, I'm going to kick her in the arse and then, then I'll literally just run out of the car, go to my aunt home, and then I'll just sleep the night. Then if she comes out, I'll just say, like, piss off, you idiot. Then, yeah.
And the man in the car then stopped, saying, "It's the missing girl! It's the missing girl!" They called the cops, and the cops took me to the police station. And they asked me where I've been all these days, and I didn't know what to answer. So I just remained silent. I didn't want to hurt the guy I love, but what's my excuse then? My parents were the nicest people to me. I can't get them in trouble as well. I didn't say a word to not hurt anyone, so they called my parents, and my parents took me home. They treated me better than ever, and my brother became nicer than ever with me. They took me to a psychologist, and I felt that it would be right to share it with him. A week later, I started going to school again, and I finally saw Ben again. He tried to ignore me, but I went after him. He turned around and said, "Sam, I'm sorry for everything. I was using you, and I got out of my mind. I can't hurt you anymore. I will turn myself in. I promise. Please, don't become crazy because of me." Crazy? Because of him? I went to my psychologist that day and told him what Ben said, and he told me that he is right, and that I have developed a syndrome which is called Stockholm Syndrome. And it happens when someone goes through an abusive trauma, and that apparently has happened to me. I couldn't believe it. So now I'm the sick one? Ben did turn himself in, and I was getting mental treatment at the hospital. He got his punishment for dealing with drugs and for kidnapping me.
Okay, so it's a
I'm
good and bad
slowly going
ending.
back
Bad
to
for
my old routine, but
Ben.
At least Ben turned in kind of good in the end, kind of.
story.
Yeah,
Please
yeah.
share
Like,
the
I
comments
guess so.
below,
He's a good guy
and
now,
don't
Ben,
forget to
because
like
he
and
turned
subscribe
himself
to
in.
this channel.
Okay,
I eat scorpions.
Just put this one on.
Yeah, see that one.
Let's see. I regret spending 8 years in prison for what my brother did.
Hi, my name is Rachel and I'm 23 years old. My little brother and I always used to get along. That is, until he just started middle school and thought he was a big shot. Meanwhile, I was just starting high school and I couldn't have cared less.
This one's
I just
okay.
wanted
That's
to spend
okay.
time with my brother. He started hanging out with his new group of friends I couldn't stand. They were always rude and talked about money all the time. When my little brother hung out with them, he started to act like they did too. I couldn't stand it. As time went on, my little brother wanted to spend less and less time with me. He never seemed to be home, and when I'd ask him to do something
Okay.
with me, he always laughed in my face.
Okay,
I didn't like the new
hyena.
person my brother was becoming, not one bit. I decided that I had to do something about it. After all, I'm the older one. Shouldn't it be me wanting to get away from him? So one Saturday night, I asked him to go to the movies with me. One of his favorite TV shows had been made into a movie, and I knew he'd be dying to see it. This time, though, when he laughed in my face, I jumped into action and tackled him to the floor. I had him pinned in no time flat. They're screaming and pleading and yelled at him. "Why are you being such a prick?" over and over again until he finally
Sorry
gave
about
in
that.
and gave me an answer. "Just want to seem cool to those guys, okay?" he said, trying to squirm his way out from under me. "You're way cooler than any of those guys," I yelled, pushing all my body weight down on him as hard as I could. "What do I have to do to get you off of me?" he yelled in desperation. I pushed down on him
I
harder.
bet that guy will
"Promise
be
you'll start
like,
acting like
get your
yourself
big
again and
fat
get
ass
yourself
off
some
of
better
my
friends."
body
I
right
climbed
now,
off of him and
you.
stormed out of the room.
Continue.
He couldn't keep acting like that. Over the next few months, things really started to change. He still wasn't around all the time, and he barely talked to me. But he was home most nights, agreed to spend time with me when the offer was enticing
They're
enough.
playing like Street
I never
Fighter.
saw those other twerps hanging around. All in all, I'd say it was a pretty great improvement. One day, about 2 weeks after my 16th birthday, my little brother and I went to the movies. Our parents gave me enough money to pay for the both of us, and I brought some of my own along for snacks and drinks. It took him forever to get ready. He locked himself in his room doing God knows what for 20 minutes. We almost missed all the previews, and those are my favorite part of going to the theaters. After I knocked for the 400th
I don't get
time,
that.
he finally opened up and said he was
That's
ready
gonna
to
sound
go.
in Fortnite
He
when you
was
open the
wearing
door.
a black sweatsuit,
Yeah,
black
actually is.
sneakers, and a black beanie. What on
Is he trying? Oh, sorry guys, ads. No one likes you. Bro, calm down.
What on earth took him 20 minutes? We pulled into the
What
theater.
is he trying to rob
only
in
5
the
minutes to
place?
prepare Before the movie started, I was so mad. I dragged him inside by the hand as fast as I could, making myself look like an angry parent. I'm not missing any more of this movie. Come on, I yelled, dragging him along behind me. I
Please.
got us some candy and popcorn to split as fast as I could and dragged him back to the right theater. We sat down, having missed over half of the previews, in one of my least favorite spots because the theater was too full. Disappointment didn't even begin to cover it.
Bro.
About 15 minutes into the movie, my brother gets up to go to the bathroom. Whatever, I thought, his loss. When he still hadn't come back in 30 minutes, though, I knew something was up. I didn't want to miss any of the movie, but
Yeah, he's
I
robbing
had to
the
go try to
place.
find him.
Yeah.
I went to the bathroom and couldn't find him anywhere.
Ew.
I walked outside and looked
There
all
is-
around the building and parking lot to try and find him. Finally, I thought to go around to the back of the building, and sure enough, there he was with the exact people I told him to stay away from. I couldn't believe it. Luckily, they hadn't seen me yet. I stormed over there to see what they were doing and take my brother back, only to find them
That's
painting
Fortnite
the back of
sounds.
the building.
Yeah.
I could not believe my eyes. What had become of my little brother? You're coming with me, I yelled as I grabbed him by the arm, trying to jerk him back towards the theater. He and his friends laughed as they ganged up on me to pull me off of him. All of a sudden, in the middle of the scuffle, we were drowned in bright blue and red lights. We had been caught and no one was going to believe that I had not been a part of it. The
But
police rushed in and gathered us all up. It all happened so fast. Our parents were so disappointed when they picked us up that night at the prison. They said the police called them during Dad's dinner party for work, and they had to try to think of an excuse to
No,
tell
you don't
his
need to
boss.
move it.
They asked us repeatedly
No.
what had gotten into us, saying, "It's just so unlike you."
George, now you
over
don't need to
and
move it.
over.
Okay.
No, that's
Our
fine.
punishments had been pretty severe, and that was before the court ruling. At school, everyone thought we were part of the bad crowd, which was never an interest of mine. My little brother kept hanging out with those guys. I guess he figured there wasn't much I could do at this point, and he was right. I had pretty much given up. We went to court months later, and thanks to the twerps that got us into this mess to begin with, the case had been drawn out for so long. Their parents, used to this kind of behavior, paid for fancy lawyers to prolong the hearings until they could get the right judges to see the case. Unfortunately, that judge had come down with an awful case of food poisoning last minute and was replaced with no warning. The kids, now panicked, set to find their scapegoat. They told their lawyer to push for a recess so they could collect themselves and make a plan. Granted the recess, they decided my little brother, being the newest and youngest member of their group, should just be the one to take the fall. After all, they told him, they'll go easier on you because you're so young. They had it all planned. Frame my brother
Okay,
for
this-
the entirety of the crime and get off scot-free.
this animating
living their
is
normal lives
cursed,
without ever
literally.
thinking of my
Like
brother
how
again.
they do
When he
the
refused,
cartoony
they threatened
pictures.
him.
It's
The leader of the gang
It's
told my
literally
brother
so-
that if he didn't play
so
ball,
fucking
he'd never be
cursed.
able to play anything again. He told him, once you're in with us, you're in for life. They started coming by our house at odd times of the day. It started with just one drive-by a day, with the whole crew in the car, usually around 3 or 4 in the morning, yelling threats and throwing things at the house, but eventually led to 4 shifts throughout the day with about 2 of them in the car each time. If they saw us outside, they'd throw something at us, usually trash from whatever fast food place they chose to eat at that day. One time was different though. I was the only one outside, and the guys stopped the car this time. The 2 guys in the car I had seen before, but I'd never really met. They got out of the car and started walking towards me. I started to move slowly back towards the house, and they started whistling and yelling at me. "Where you going, baby? Come back. Let's see that smile." I got back inside the house before they made it through our front fence. but I could hear them yelling at me and making kissing noises through our open window until they left. The next day, they set us all in separate rooms and asked for confessions. Everyone pleaded innocent but me. The story we told the court was this. I had convinced my brother to go back there with me, and his friends had followed to try and stop us. The court accepted our
I like how
story
they
and
did
sentenced
penguins
to
with
10 years
start
in prison.
smoking
I
with
couldn't believe how
glasses.
long of a
I
sentence
like how
I
they
got.
did
Then
that.
I found out it wasn't just vandalism they were in trouble for. They were planning to rob the movie theater.
Knew it.
How
That's why they
could
were in
this
black
much
and
get
white.
pinned on me?
The photos
Prison
in
was
black.
no picnic.
Wasn't
My
it?
roommate
Yeah.
was rude and mean. She'd snipe at me for so much as breathing too loudly. The other girls were no better. After about 6 months in, I found a small group of friends, but it was hard to keep friends in the joint.
She was in
One
the
time, I was
prison
sitting
for
with my
she's
friends
in
at
prison
lunch
for 10
and I made a
months,
comment about the
6
food I
months
was
in.
eating. It was something like, with their budget, you'd think we could get some better grub around here. Little did I know, 3 of my
survive a
friends worked in the kitchen and had made the food. I felt so awful, but they wanted to make sure I felt really awful.
Ads.
Sorry, guys.
Hi everyone, I'm Keanu Reeves. And I'm Alex Winter. And we're here to say a huge
Where's John
thank
Wick?
you to all of the totally
It's John
outstanding
Wick!
Bill
Yeah.
fans
Hello.
in the UK and Ireland. We cannot wait for you to join.
Skip ads.
They pulled strings to have every one of the few luxuries we were allowed in prison to be taken away from me. I was served slop that resembled vomit or worse, inedible objects. My sheets were always dirty and full of bits like crumbs, dirt, or rocks. My soap was always missing when it came shower time, and my clothes or towel would always be missing after. The hazing from them was pretty bad, but it wasn't as bad as losing my friend group. I felt alone, scared, and way too vulnerable. Luckily, after just 8 years, I was told I was eligible for parole. I was shocked that I got it so quickly. After all, many of my fellow inmates said that it could take multiple attempts and hearings to get it. When my mom picked me up, I expressed this surprise to her. She couldn't believe that that was what I cared about when this was the first time I'd been off the prison grounds in 8 years. Your brother pushed for it. He's been
Wait,
pushing
8
for it since you
years?
did. He's paid so much money for lawyers trying to get you a parole hearing. His recommendation
Sorry
and
if I'm not
character reference
speaking a
were
lot.
part
Sorry
of what
about
got
that.
you out of there, she said so casually. I couldn't believe my ears. My brother had actually understood what I did for him. Maybe he had wisened up after all. The closer we got to home, the more excited I got to see my little brother again. I had high hopes that he had returned to the little brother I always knew. When I got home, I went to my bedroom first, eager to see a room without a toilet that could be mine and mine alone. After a few moments of getting reacquainted
thought it was
with
10
life
months,
outside,
but it was
I went to
8
find my little brother.
years.
I thought for sure he'd want to see me. I found him in his room, chatting on an instant messenger on his computer. Hey bro, long time no see, I said, wanting to put all the past behind me. After a long time of silence, he said, look, we're even now. I just stared at him in shock. I couldn't believe my ears. Don't look at me like that. You took the rap for us, so I got you out early. We're even. We owe you nothing. We? You're still hanging out with those guys? I was
Really?
in total
Hang
shock.
out with them,
I
they're
couldn't believe that
jerks.
nothing had changed. Who had my brother become? Get out of my room, he said, laughing. I went back to my room, shut the door, and collapsed on the bed.
No, she was in the prison for 8 years.
Wait, what?
80? No, 8. 8 years. But still. Whoa, Jesus Christ, man.
That night when our parents were asleep, I went into his bedroom to have a talk with him. I was going to get my little brother back one way or another. When I barged into his room, he was still at his computer, chatting with someone online. What do you want?
He's still hanging out with them jerks.
Listen, what is wrong with you? I went to jail for you. I lost 8 years of my life.
Yeah, he went to
I
jail
missed
for she went to
everything. Why are you treating me like this? Why are you still hanging out with those losers? Of course, you. I didn't ask for you to go to jail for me. I didn't ask for you to come after me that day. Do you realize what you did? You're the reason we got caught that night. After you went to jail, Mom wouldn't let me go anywhere. I might as well have been in prison. I never got to spend any time with friends, see anyone outside the family. She even took me out of school. If you would have let me take the fall, as was the plan, I could have gotten off so much easier. I was so much younger. They wouldn't have pinned the drugs on me, but with you, there was an opportunity. I don't blame them for taking it. Once again, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. How could my brother feel this way? Suddenly, I regretted everything. Why did I give up my life for such an ungrateful twerp? How could I be fooled so greedily? You took my life away, Rachel. I should have known you wouldn't consider anything but yourself. I hope you realize we're going to get you back for this. I knew right then and there that I was going to get my brother back for this. I spent 8 years in prison, and that twerp thought I did something to him? I'll show him what me doing something to him looks like.
Ha ha!
The next day, I started making my plan.
That's why that's called karma, do you agree?
Yeah.
Notebook,
Why
writing
did you
down
put a
any
belt
way
on?
I could think of to get back at my little brother. When an unfamiliar car pulled up and parked right outside our fence. I didn't think much of it at first.
Guys, you just put a
and
belt
went
on
right
for
back
no
to planning my
reason,
revenge.
check.
That is, until I heard something familiar that caught my attention. Hey baby, you looking good today, a familiar voice said. I looked up to see the 2 guys that had catcalled me 8 years ago walking towards me. I felt myself flood with panic, but I tried to stay calm. I couldn't move a single muscle. Oh, what's the matter? Prison beat the fight out of you? The other guy said as they got closer. I was so scared that I couldn't move. I didn't know what to do. I was paralyzed and my tongue was frozen. I couldn't say or do anything but sit and panic. I closed my eyes tight and wished for it all to be over. Suddenly I heard, "Hey, watch it," and opened my eyes to see my little brother throwing food at the 2 guys. He had rushed to my rescue by pelting any food he could find at these guys from
Yes,
the door.
the brother
Get
rescued
outta
the
here.
girl
Leave her alone.
from the guys who tried to kidnap,
My
to
little
attack
brother
her.
was still in
Oh,
prison.
the big brother!
To help
Good, you're not a twerp!
the guys left.
You're not a dick
We
anymore.
laughed together and turned on one of our
Phew,
old
he's-
favorite television shows.
he's
And
no-
he told me that he treated
they're
me
so-
badly when I got out of prison because he was
that's
ashamed of what
good.
he did.
At least
And he did not know how to confront me after what
Yeah,
I
look at
did
his
to
face, he
help
seems
him.
sad now.
And he started crying
Aw.
and hugged me for 15 minutes.
Oh, he's like crying but hugging her.
Okay, this is where we're going to end our video today. So, hit like, subscribe, notification bell. Then we'll see you next time on Jay-Z Bricks.
Bye.
Bye.